Hi everyone, I'm going to show you today the steps that you would take if you were to draw a picture from the beginning. So what I have here is a picture of this elephant. I'm going to show you the steps that I would take to take this image and to draw it successfully freehand on my page here. So the first step that I would do is I would look at my image. I've chosen this one because I can see the whole animal. I can see there's some nice clear shapes in the body and it has lots of fun details to it. And the first step that I take when drawing a image is that I look at that image and break it down into simple forms. The simplest forms that we can see in art are our shapes and our lines. So you see here, if I look at the main part of this elephant's body, I can see a big round oval. If I move over to this little hump here of the shoulder blade of the elephant, I could even draw another narrower oval, and then continue that over where the head is. Now these shapes aren't perfect shapes, they're just a rough guide for when I'm going to draw onto my page. I'm using a red pencil to draw on my picture, just so I can see those shapes nice and clearly. Now that I have my circles, the next objects that I see are the legs and the trunk. And these shapes are really simple rectangles, narrow and thin. This leg here goes on a slight forward angle. This one on a slight backward angle. And this trunk here, I could break into two shapes. This little curved section there, and then it goes straight down and to a slightly narrower end. And finally, I could just add the tail in as a line. So now that I've looked at my image and broken it into its simpler shapes, I now need to transfer those shapes onto my page. And I'm going to keep using a red pencil for this, so that when I do my drawing on top of it with the pencil, I'll still be able to see the shapes. But you can do it in pencil so that you can erase these lines later on. So I'm going to slide this picture to the side. I'm going to keep looking at it so that I can see where the shapes should be. I might even fold this in half so that you can see too. Now, my elephant takes up about 2/3 of my page. So I'm going to go up my page about 2/3, give myself a faint line there to help me know where to stop. And I'm going to start with my big circle, which is the most of the body. I'm holding my pencil at the back. I'm doing soft, light lines, continually looking at the picture to make sure I'm getting that shape as close to the image as possible. Once I've done that, I'm going to move on to the next shape. Now these two shapes are not only touching, they're overlapping. So I'm going to make sure that when I draw, that my shapes are overlapping. I did it wrong to start off with, so I'm going to correct it. They're also both the same height, so I'm going to make sure that I'm matching the heights of my circles. There we go. And the final circle, once again, is overlapping. And it's a bit rounder and a bit smaller. So now I have the basic shape of the body of my elephant. I've checked that my heights are the same. I've checked that this shape is a bit smaller and that they are overlapping. The good part about doing the shapes is I can make corrections now in case I've done it wrong. It's a lot easier to make corrections now than when I'm trying to add all the details. So the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the picture and see that the feet don't quite go to the bottom of the page. So I'm going to draw myself once again another soft guideline. And now I'm going to start marking in these rectangle shapes for the legs. So starting at the back, nearing the end of this circle, I'm going to draw in a rectangle. And I'm going to draw in another rectangle for the one behind. This foot is very much slightly higher than the one before it, so I'm going to make my rectangle slightly higher. Now these legs are attached to the tall, thin circle, so I'm going to make sure that I'm drawing them from this shape. This line comes down a little bit more of an angle. Angle forward, this line is going angled backwards. Now my eyes, you can't see this, but my eyes are constantly flicking from my picture to what I'm drawing, to my picture to what I'm drawing. Don't try to draw with what you think it should look like. Always check, always correct. This is how you get the most successful drawing. Now the final step is I'm going to come to this trunk. So I've got two shapes, a little bit of a trapezoid and then a longer, thinner rectangle. So starting, overlapping a little bit of that circle. I'm going to correct that shape because I've made it too long. And then coming down from there, a nice long rectangle that gets a little bit thinner at the bottom. And then I can also add my little tail. Nice and simple. Now that I have all my shapes in place, I can see that there is a bit of an elephant forming there. I don't need to have all the details to see that the shapes are the correct. Now I'm going to look at my elephant and see if do I need to add any further details. Well, I definitely do. I can see that there's an outside of my elephant, which goes with the shapes of my circles. I can see that my little tail is a little bit wider than this line that I've drawn. And I'm going to do those lines first and then continue on to the next ones afterwards because we've got more shapes in that head to add. So coming back to my drawing, once again, always checking my picture. I'm going to draw in the outline of my elephant. Once again, I'm holding my pencil fairly close to the back. I'm resting my wrist on my page so that I can do some nice curves by pivoting my wrist. Nice smooth lines where possible. I'm going to come around to the back here. And add in the shape of my tail. And some little fairy hairs. So now I'm starting to add in the form of my elephant. If I look at the head shape here, it's not as simple as those circles that I've added, so I'm going to add some more detail. If I take the top of that circle and come in and follow it around, I can see I have the shape of the ear, I have the shape of the cheek, and the little mouth, and the shape of the eye. So I'm going to come to my drawing, drag that line out to halfway through my other circle, bring it down and around. For this shape, I can still make it relatively simple. I don't need to add the details. You notice how the little fold of the ear actually follows the line of my circle, my narrow circle, so I'm going to do the same thing. Follow that line. Round shape for the cheek, little round shape for the eye, and I can add in a little triangle of the mouth. So now I'm seeing more of my elephant appearing. If I have a look at the legs now, the line of the leg comes up into the body, has a little fold that comes out and then follows into where my leg shape is. And then this leg part connects up into where the ear is. So I'm going to add those lines in. Once again, I'm always checking the picture with my eyes, always flicking between the two, not relying on my memory to tell me what it should look like. And what I'm going to add in the bottom is just a triangular shape for the pad of the foot. There we go. Now looking at the bottom of my body, it connects to that little flappy section of the front leg and then goes around to the shape. The circle. And then I can add in the lines of my leg. So my elephant is looking a little bit better. I'm adding more of those details. The back leg here goes from the tummy, it swings down and connects to that back leg. So now I'm using all my lines, my detailed lines, to add in the detail of my elephant. Sorry about my hand getting in the way. So my elephant is looking far more improved from where I started. I'm now going to just add in the shape of the trunk and then I'll finish there for this activity. The trunk is nice and simple, just following the lines, making sure I'm adding in that curve. And there we go. There's my elephant, stage 1.